The Indian Pueblo Culture Center presents Pueblo In Focus. Join us for Pueblo Talk, food, history, art, and more. Hosted by Jemez Pueblo from Acoma and Jemez Pueblos. Experience Pueblo, experience history. We are New Mexico. Check us out on YouTube, Spotify, and Meta.
Welcome everyone to another edition of the Pueblo In Focus podcast. My name is Jemez Pueblo. I'm from the Pueblos of Acoma and Jemez. And with me today is Cliff Fragua. Cliff, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Good morning. My name's Cliff Fragua. I'm from the Pueblo of Jemez. I currently reside there as well. That's where I do most of my sculptures there at a studio that we built back in 1983.
Oh, wow. So it's been around, your studio's been around that long?
Yes, it has been. Prior to that, my studio was moved around. It all started when I returned back from the Institute of American Indian Arts, and I needed a place to carve. So the house that we rented there in the Pueblo was only 3 rooms, and so I had a chance to do my carving in the kitchen. But eventually I moved around different locations in the Jemez area, and then I had a very good year when I did the Santa Fe Indian Market, which was my first event. And then I was able to raise enough money to start building the studio there.
So it's kind of interesting, the name you chose for your studio. It's called Singing Stone, right?
Yes.
Tell us the backstory on why you decided to call it Singing Stone.
I had some difficulty deciding what would best reflect my work and what I do. And so I started thinking about the stones that I work with. Whenever I purchase stone, I want to make sure that the stone is solid and that it'll hold up to the tools that I use. So in that, I have to check first the color, and then the clarity, and to see if there's any cracks that run through the stone. And one way to check that is to tap the stone. And if the stone rings, then it tells the carver that it's solid with no imperfections, as far as cracks and any fissures or anything that would detract from carving the stone. As I tap the stone, sometimes it rings like a bell. It's just really clear and high pitch. And it sounded like the stone was singing to me. It was the stone's song. Uh-huh. And so I thought, yeah, that's an appropriate name. This reflects what the stone. It reflects about the stone and the artists working together, and then coming up with a composition of music, of visual arts, and being able to use that to communicate my feel and my approach to carving stone.
That's really cool. And that kind of goes to our Pueblo background of, us using songs. We use songs for dances and ceremonies and stuff, but we have songs for everything. I mean, my grandma used to sing a song when she was making tortillas, and I was like, what song are you singing? She's like, this is the tortilla song. This is the song you sing when you're making tortillas. And my grandpa used to sing a song when he would go to the field. My great-grandpa would. He knew tons of songs, and he would sing songs out in the field just to hoe weeds or to go after wood. So it's pretty cool that you named it Singing Stone, because singing is such a big part of our Pueblo life. Can you talk about how being from Jemez and that Pueblo life plays into your work, into your sculptures, and just your artwork. How you use that. I mean, having your studio right there in the Pueblo. How you use that Pueblo heritage in your work.
Well, it all started actually when I was young. My father got into the relocation program back in the mid-50s. And so he signed up, and then he was more or less shipped off to St. Louis. And so he took his young family. There's just both my parents and my brother at the time, so we moved to St. Louis. My father eventually got into a apprenticeship program with the Carpenters Union there in St. Louis, and then both my sisters were born in St. Louis. And I recall in first grade I was the only different colored student, and so I remember the teacher wanting us to do drawings of our surroundings, and I remember I did my drawing with a crayon, and all the students loved what I did, and so they asked me to do a drawing for them, and then I did. I started doing these drawings for the other students, and they were so impressed. And I thought, wow, I wonder how come they don't know how to draw. For me, it came naturally. So, but over the years, I would keep up with my drawing, and then eventually we did move back to New Mexico, and we stayed for a year. And then the company that my father used to work with in St. Louis called him and said they needed him out in the Bay Area in California. Mm-hmm. So he went out and found a place for us to live in San Francisco, and we moved out there from Jemez. And that was in the mid-60s. Mm-hmm. And so our stay in San Francisco was during the time of Vietnam, mm-hmm. and how things were changing, and how American views were changing, and so being a part of that, growing up in the Mission District of San Francisco, allowed me to learn more about the diversity of culture within the city. We also have people from home living there. In fact, my uncle had arrived before we did, and so he raised his family there in the city. And I recall that the times that they would have feast here in Jemez, we would celebrate feast there in the city. And so we have a gathering of Pueblo people, mm-hmm. and their partners or spouse, who were at times non-Jemez, who mm-hmm. were of other tribes. And we celebrate Jemez feast. Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah, it was pretty cool then. Being there among other diverse cultures helped me to understand, where people come from, what their culture is like. But we did stay in San Francisco until I graduated from high school. Mm-hmm. a month after I graduated, we moved back. We left San Francisco and we moved back permanently to New Mexico. It was hard work, working in the fields, or even helping to plaster the adobe houses, take care of the livestock. There was just so much work that we had to do, and I started learning more about the values of community living and Pueblo life after we returned back to New Mexico to live permanently. I didn't stay very long at the Pueblo because while we were building our father's home, at one point he just said to me, "Hey, why don't you go ahead and go home and clean up, and then go up to Santa Fe and apply for that school you always wanted to go to?" And I looked at him and it's like, what's he saying, you know? And because I always felt like he needed me to be there to help build the house, you know. But here he was giving me this opportunity to go to school. And so I just went ahead and went home, cleaned up, and got on the highway and hitchhiked to Santa Fe.
Oh wow!
Yeah, at that point I was 17.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I took my application. I took my the drawings and letters of recommendations that I acquired while we were still in San Francisco. Took all of that to Santa Fe, and I entered the administration building, and I told them that I was there to apply for the school. I did meet the registrar, and at the time I didn't know that she was Alan Hauser's wife, Ann Hauser, and so I mean, when I reflect on it, it was more or less just another path that I had taken. At that time, I didn't know that there was these paths that was leading me to where I am presently at today. I was accepted. I mean, I did receive a letter a couple of weeks later that I was accepted to the school, so I had the opportunity to go up there. I was trying to focus on my art career in painting. But I had some difficulties of trying to develop my own style and my own technique. And during the second year of school there, I was rooming with a friend of mine from Red Pheasant, Saskatchewan. He's Plains Cree, and his name is Gerald McMasters. And so he had taken the sculpture course. And then when he finished his first piece, he brought it back to the room and he showed it to me. And I was so floored by what he accomplished. And I inquired about how he did the work, and he explained the process. And then he told me, "You should take a sculpture class next semester." And I said, "Yeah, I will." And so the following semester rolled around, I signed up for a sculpture, and man, I just couldn't get enough of it. It was just really, I just felt this connection with the stone and the process. And Alan Hauser was the instructor. I was influenced by his work, his reflection of Native culture and the simplicity of his lines and designs, and his accomplishment in both stone and bronze. And I was inspired by his work, and so I started working more or less in his design and style. And so that helped me to learn more about the whole process of three-dimensional arts. At the time, too, I'd also had signed up for jewelry making, ceramics classes, and also traditional techniques. It was sculpture, though, that I kept wanting to go back to and and learn more. All the other three-dimensional courses did help me to formulate my three-dimensional mentality. When I did leave school, I left because my son was born, so I had this responsibility that I had to take care of, and so I left school. But I was able to acquire some stone and a little bit of tools, and that's where I started carving, in Mom's kitchen. At the same time, I was trying to come up with my own perspective of what I was doing, which is stone carving. And I recall working on a piece outside, an alabaster piece, and then an elder man came by, and he saw what I was doing, and then he approached me and he asked me, what are you doing? And I said, I'm making sculptures. And then he looked at me and he looked at stone, and he looked at me and says, what sculptures? And then I tried to explain to him what sculpture was about and how I was using stone as an art form. But I could sense that he wasn't understanding what I was saying. He left, and then I kept reflecting on that. I kept thinking about it and said, I wonder if he fully understands what I was trying to say. And then I thought, I don't think he did. I think what he was trying to understand is how stone could be used as an art form when stone is used for ceremonial purposes. And I thought maybe that's why he's having this conflicted understanding of what stone is about. And so that more or less got me thinking about my art being used for educational purpose, to teach others what stone has done for me, and how it adds to the cultural value that I'm learning about. I was approached by some of the people at home who asked if I could make hunting fetishes.
Oh, yeah. Right.
Yeah. And so I started researching that, and I found that what they needed were the cougars, the cougar fetishes. And so just researching some of the Zuni fetishes, I learned about how to carve in that way to replicate the cougar. And then and the very first piece that I made, they asked me how much I wanted to sell it for, and I didn't know what the value would be. And then I just blurted it out, $15. And they said, okay. But I never saw that $15.
It was a donation.
Yeah. But I let that go. It's just like, it's to me, it just seems like, how can you place value in something that's regarded as sacred?
Mm-hmm.
After a while, when I kept getting approached by people or the hunters who needed the fetishes, I just thought, well, I could use things that that's difficult to get, but they would more or less have or they can obtain. That's feathers,
Mm-hmm.
turkey feathers, eagle feathers,
Mm-hmm.
bluebirds. Just necessary feathers that we need for our ceremonies and our prayer feathers. I would suggest, let's do a trade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're native. We barter.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we do. And so to this day, that's what I do. I mean, I don't accept any cash. I will accept seeds.
Mm-hmm.
I'll accept anything that I could use for ceremonial use, and I think that has more value. And then when they ask me, well, how much you need, I always tell them it's whatever you feel the fetish is worth to you.
Mm-hmm.
And so some will come with just the feathers that they have, while others will come with an abundance of feathers or other objects that I could use.
Mm-hmm.
And I just felt like, that this is how things should be done.
Mm-hmm.
Because with the value of money, we place too much emphasis on, and we obtain the things that we need, but we also obtain the things that we think we need, and how long does that last? And so I know that with the fetishes, they'll last, indefinitely.
Yeah.
And it's being used, in a good way.
Mm-hmm.
And so I felt that the value of that and the value of the barter, it helps both of us. It helps the artists as well as the people who need the sacred object. When I went and started becoming more visible in the art world with my sculptures, I was able to get into a show, the 8 Northern Arts and Crafts shows, Indian Pueblo Arts and Crafts shows. When I did the 8 Northern show, it was held up at Pickery's Pueblo. And I was approached by Angie Owen of Santo Domingo Pueblo, and her husband Don Owen was the one who was the organizer of the Santa Fe Indian Market, Santa Fe Indian Market. And so Angie said, "Oh, I love your sculptures. They're so beautiful. And so, we got to get you into Santa Fe Indian Market." And she said, "Give me some photographs of some of your sculptures, and then I'll show Don and see if we can get you into the show." So I did. I was able to get some photos for her, and she showed Don, and he felt that was a great addition to the whole thing about Native art. There's and so that following year, I was able to have a booth at Santa Fe Indian Market, and then my entry piece took best of classification, best of a division, as well as first place in sculpture.
Oh, wow.
And so that became more of my springboard,
Mm-hmm.
to start focusing on sculpture as a career. But over the years, I made a lot of accomplishments, a lot of awards, um, and then one day, I get a call from Joe Sando,
Mm-hmm.
and he had said that they were working on a project, and then what they wanted was a statue of Popeye.
Yeah.
He asked me to go ahead and apply for that,
Mm-hmm.
and to provide all the necessary materials for this opportunity. So I went ahead and did that, um, and I submitted my initial application. I submitted my initial concept
Mm-hmm.
of Popeye, and then out of I believe it was about 80 applications, the commission, the Popeye Commission, which was appointed by the governor of New Mexico, chose 4 proposals.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were the semifinalists. And then they requested our proposal in the material that we'll be working with.
Mm-hmm.
And so I submitted my initial proposal. And then out of the 4, mine was accepted.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was thrilled about that.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it's like, wow, this is a huge project.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's a huge stone too.
Uh-huh.
Am I going to be able to accomplish this? But I felt that I could, because prior to that, back in 1986, I went to Italy.
Mm-hmm.
I had a very good year, and I was able to pay for a workshop that was being held in Pietrasanta, Italy. There was it was a workshop on the Italian method of stone carving,
Mm-hmm.
and up to that point, I had only been able to do 1 or 2 marble sculptures.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wanted to learn more about it,
Mm-hmm.
and here was that opportunity. So I spent 4 weeks in Pietrasanta, Italy, learning about how to carve marble.
Mm-hmm.
And so at that time, I was able to acquire all the necessary tools
Mm-hmm.
there in Italy. And I also had the opportunity to visit the Michelangelo quarry, which is outside of Carrara, Italy. And I was able to purchase 4 metric tons of the marble.
Oh, wow.
Those 4 pieces of stone that I bought were large. I mean, they were huge. And so I was able to carve 1 large piece. So when the Popeye Commission provided this opportunity to carve Popeye, I felt like I can be able to accomplish it, because I had the necessary tools, and then I had some experience carving on the larger scale.
Mm-hmm.
And then after finding out that I had been accepted to do the statue of Popeye, I felt like, yeah, this is an accomplishment that I want to ensure that it's done right. And so started doing research, going to the Maxwell Museum, reading more about the Pueblo Revolt and how it transpired into the day when the uprising occurred. I remember back when I was in San Francisco, there was when I attended Catholic school, one of the projects that the teacher wanted us to do, and I was, I think I was probably about the 5th grade, 6th grade, I think it was. She wanted the students to do a project on American Indians, you know, and when she said that, all the students turned and looked at me.
The one native student in the class.
Yeah. And so I was able to go and get the family photos, and I was looking through all the photos of the life in Jemez, and I thought, wow, there's more to it. I need to read more about it. So I went to the a local library, and I was going through the books, and then I came across one that was titled "The Pueblo Indians." This is a small red cover book, and it was written for elementary students. And they covered in a chapter the Pueblo Revolt. And I was astounded, because I thought, wow, I didn't know that, we revolted.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that we were successful and we drove the Spaniards out of New Mexico. And I just kept reading it. And I was so amazed by this information. And so that I felt was like it was a view of what's going to be ahead in my future. And but when the project, the Popeye project started, I was amazed at the lack of education of Pueblo people, and particularly the Pueblo Revolt, wasn't studied or offered in the public school systems here in New Mexico, and so that became an addition to not only honoring the Popeye and the revolt, but also it was an educational component to push the history of the Pueblo Revolt. And so going to Maxwell Museum and finding out more information that helped me to put together the piece that now resides in the U.S. Capitol building. Some interviews with with elder people, like talking with Joel Sandel about the revolt, and so I wanted to be able to honor Popeye as a man who is part of the community, a man that values Pueblo culture and traditions. I found out later that he was from the Bear Clan, that he was a medicine man, and so I wanted to honor that as well. Joe Sandel's suggestion was just do him in a blanket, with a headband and a hutching, or a chango, and I thought, well, that sounds easy, but I need to do something that's more reflective of who he is.
Yeah.
Being the farmer, being the medicine man, being a person of a community, and so I I decided, I think I'm just going to go ahead and clothe him in an attire that's reflective of all that. And that's why I had him with the deerskin cloak or robe and the deerskin kilt and the moccasins, and then he has his hutching, and that he has that headband that Joe Sandel had suggested.
Yeah.
And then the shell that he has, which symbolizes where life began, and then have that bear fetish in his hand because that's where he was from, the Bear Clan, and then the knotted cord, which of course was used to signal the day of the uprising, and but. At the same token, I wanted to also do something that would reflect on why we had the uprising. And after doing all the research, it was pretty brutal about what the Spaniards, the conquistadors, inflicted upon the Pueblo people. And one of the things that was a major reason was the forced Catholicism on Pueblo people. But then I thought about how would that be received in Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
I sensed that there would be some controversy, or a lot of controversy, if I placed an object that would tell the true reason why we stood up to drive the Spaniards out of New Mexico, out of our land.
Yeah.
And take back and reclaim, our culture and our traditions and our ceremonies. I used the pot that's behind him to give it support, because I couldn't do a piece where he's standing on just his two legs because of the weight of the stone, the density. So I needed some sort of support, so that's why I put pottery behind him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But anyway, it was after I was done with the piece. Everything was done ceremonially. I was able to go to Friendsville, Tennessee, to talk to the quarry there about the stone I wanted to use for the statue. They were real thrilled that their stone was going to be used as a statue in the U.S. Capitol building. Although they manufacture building blocks for some of the buildings in Washington, D.C., but to actually have a sculpture there in the National Statuary Hall, it was a big honor for them. So they helped me to select the stone, and they pointed out where it would be extracted from the quarry. And so I went back to the Pueblo, and I talked to one of our leaders of the fire society, and I told him that I was going to get this stone, and if he could do some prayer feathers for me when I go to pick up the stone, and so he did. So I was able to take the prayer feathers and then place it in the quarry area, and let the trail from there to the Pueblo. And it was quite interesting because the quarry wanted to have a reception, so they invited the governor of Tennessee, as well as some of the local politicians, and so they had this reception to, honor this project, and so after the stone was shipped and after it was placed, I had the medicine man come back and do a blessing for the stone, and then the commission wanted to have a reception to welcome the stone. So I said, okay, well, we can go ahead and put together a reception there at the studio, and then the commission can go ahead and invite whoever they wish. And then I told my mother that we were going to have this reception at the studio for the stone. And then she asked me, well, what are you going to serve the people that's going to be there?
Yeah.
I said, I don't know, just coffee and cookies. And she says, no, you can't just serve them coffee or cookies. You got to feed them.
That is the Pueblo way.
Yeah,
you can't just serve small things.
Yeah.
You gotta feed them a full meal.
Yeah, and so I thought, God, I think there's going to be about 300 people.
Oh,
He said, that's okay. I'll call the rest of the family. And so she did. She got all the extended family, and they were all for it. So that morning when we had the reception, the governor's office, at that time it was Gary Johnson, Governor Gary Johnson. His office called me and said that they're sending their head of security to the studio to inspect it.
Oh yeah.
And so I said, okay, well, I'll meet him there. But at the same time, I had already asked the medicine man to come and bless the stone before the reception. So the head of security arrived, and the medicine man also arrived, and at about the same time. And I had to tell the head of security that we like to keep this private. So if you don't mind, if you could stand, go on the other side of the building. And said, I mean, we could probably let you stay and watch, but we'll probably have to kill you. He just laughed. Yeah, I get it. So anyway, the blessing was done, and told him to come back. And then at that point, people started arriving, and oh God, there was so many people, and we had we had the speeches, and we had the prayers, and and then I went ahead and invited all the dignitaries to have a chance at carving the stone.
Oh, uh-huh.
Yeah, so I made them put on the protective equipment and gave them the pitching chisel and gave them the mallet and said, "This is how you hit the stone, break a piece off."
Mm-hmm.
And so Governor Gary Johnson had the first opportunity,
Mm-hmm.
and then the governors, all the Pueblo governors that attended,
Mm-hmm.
the politicians that were there, and then I had my father do a chance to go ahead and take a shot at the stone,
Mm-hmm.
and it was quite honoring for for the stone and for Popeye and
Mm-hmm.
and for the people of New Mexico, and then after we were done there, everybody ended up at my mom's house, and she had a full house of people,
Mm-hmm.
For the rest of the day, just feeding, and all the relatives were there to help, and it was just really a beautiful event.
Yeah.
And so throughout the time that we were working on this project, it took quite a while. It took about 5 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Wow,
because
that's a
the
long
commission was given the responsibility to raise the money
time.
and then do all the necessary logistics of placing the sculpture in the U.S. Capitol building.
Mm-hmm.
And so in 2005, the sculpture was completed, and it was shipped off to Washington, D.C. I flew out there to view the installation,
Mm-hmm.
but it was funny because when I arrived at the Capitol building, Popeye was standing outside one of the doorways. And so I inquired and asked, is there a problem? And they said, yeah, he's kind of bigger than the doorway. And I thought, how can that be? The architect of the Capitol building had asked me 3 times what the dimensions were.
Yeah.
And 3 times I gave him the same dimension.
Uh-huh.
And I can't understand how they didn't consider that as to bring those sculpture into the building. And they said, well, we're going to have to figure out how to do this. So what they did was they had to lay the sculpture down.
Oh, uh-huh.
And that was the first time that the sculpture actually laid down.
Uh-huh.
And I was just all nervous because, then that changes the whole density structure and, the weight structure. And
Yeah.
it's,
Yeah.
I was just told that it doesn't damage any weak areas.
Mm.
But they were able to get it through the doorway and then stand the sculpture up,
Mm-hmm.
and then move it across the marble floor.
Mm-hmm.
And that was rather unique because they couldn't move heavy equipment across the floor. But what they did was they were able to place mylar on the floor and place a sculpture on top of that. And then they were able to pull and move the sculpture
kind of just slide it across the floor.
It across,
wow.
yeah. And so this was done in the rotunda,
Uh-huh.
and then they placed them where they had them, and everything went well. It was really good work that they did.
I'm sure you gained a few more gray hairs that day.
Oh yeah, I did. Yeah, yeah. But then the day of the dedication, we had a lot of people from New Mexico attend. You know, we had the dances, we had the singing, the speeches, and yeah, it was really a memorable event, and I felt like everybody was felt blessed by it, because we started a procession from the Museum of the American Indian, and we walked from there to the Capitol building. And as we were walking, somebody spotted a bald eagle flying around above us. Yeah, so that everybody took as a blessing. And everybody reached out, and, to breathe in the life of the eagle. And thanking the eagle for being there. And
for us Pueblo people, I think that's always a good sign that's maybe one of our ancestors kind of watching over us, or just looking over us, making sure that we're okay, we're protected, or just giving their blessing to us. So that's really cool that eagle showed up for you guys.
Yeah. And so the reception had a lot of really positive, good feelings, you know, and I'm sure that people that were there felt the blessings and felt like finally we're being honored. Because it all started with Herman Ogoyo and his wife Rachel. Rachel had thought about Popeye being included in this collection.
Because I think only Dennis Chavez was up there at the time, right?
Dennis Chavez was the only one.
Because each state is allowed 2 statues in Statuary Hall, and New Mexico had Dennis Chavez, the famous Hispanic political leader of the state. I think he's the first Hispanic legislature in U.S. history, and so that makes sense that he would be there. But he was the only one at the time.
Right. Yeah, you're correct on that. And but Rachel told Herman, it'd be nice if we could have Popeye in this collection, and then that's what
that got that snowball rolling.
Right. Herman thought that was a great idea, and that's where the conversation started, and they made that effort to get people involved and get reaction, see how people felt about something like this. Herman Ogoyo was so instrumental in bringing this all together, and working with him was such an honor. He done a lot for the people in New Mexico. He done a lot for the Pueblo people, and who we are today. It's because of his involvement and his bringing together all the different Pueblo communities to work together. We were very grateful that we've reached that point where Popeye is now included in the American history. And also there as a symbol to protect, people, the citizens. When the insurrection occurred, I woke up that morning and my computer was on full blast because I was getting all these emails and notification of the National Guards sitting and laying around the statue of Popeye.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And
that was just recently too, right? That people were protesting. Is that what you're referring to?
No, that was the insurrection, November or January 6th.
Oh, the January 6th. The storming of the Capitol building.
Yeah. And prior to that, Popeye was in the Rotunda for about 4 years before they moved him to the Emancipation Hall and the Capitol building visitor center.
Mm-hmm.
And he's in that hall along with 19 other sculptures. And the original plaster cast of the statue that's on the dome of the Capitol building was also in the Emancipation Hall. So Popeye was like the second one to the left of that sculpture. So whenever you see photographs of that particular sculpture, you also see a statue of Popeye off to the left of it. But everybody that's going to visit the Capitol building has to enter through the visitor center, and so Popeye gets first view, more or less, from the visitors, and so having Popeye honored and being a part of American history also educates the people who, don't know about Pueblo culture, don't know about the Pueblo Revolt, and that we still exist, and that we still are strong in our culture and our traditions and language. And so,
I think that's very, very cool that most people don't know that the first, basically, American Revolution took place in New Mexico by Pueblo people, like you said, expelling the Spanish soldiers and Spanish leaders down to El Paso area. So that's very cool that's commemorized and that you're able to be a big part of that.
I agree with that, and but in the back of my mind, the whole true reason why we had the revolt was back there, and it's like, what can I do to educate people about that? I know it's controversial, but it has to be told, and that's what inspired me to go ahead and do the second rendition of Popeye. I did the piece that's now here at the Indian Pueblo Cultural Center, and I did him in a true reflection of who he was. He was that medicine man. So he has hanging around his neck the medicine bags. He also is stripped down, and he's only wearing a breechcloth, but he also has body paint. He has armbands. He has the wristbands, Bogart, shell band. He has the bear fetish in his left hand and the knotted cord in his right. He has a eagle down feather tied to his head. He's wearing moccasins, and he's standing behind a drum. The Pueblo drum, and the drumstick that's placed on top of that drum. But below all of that, on the base of the sculpture, is the broken crucifix. And that's what I wanted to include in the original rendition, but because of controversy, it probably be met with resistance. But I wanted to let people know that it was because of the Catholicism that disallowed us to not perform the necessary sacred ceremonies that we need to perform, to keep the world spinning, and so that has to be told. And but I really appreciate the Cultural Center, its effort to also tell the same story, and for them to begin a capital campaign to purchase the piece, and this was actually originated from the an exhibit that I was invited to curate with other Pueblo people who, to educate the public about the 100 years of federal and state relationship with the Pueblo nations, and so I had suggested to the group that maybe we can also put the statue of Popeye that I'm working on, and I can loan it for the exhibition. And as soon as I brought it in, Mike, who was the chair of the board, said, "We got to have this piece. we got to have it. Then we're going to work on it." And so that's how they were able to start that capital campaign and that effort to induct the statue into the collection. So I felt really happy because it does tell the true story, a true reason why the uprising occurred.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think it's perfect that it's one of the more prominent pieces at the Capitol building in Washington, D.C., because it kind of stands for everything that America stands for. He was just your average man, but he rose to prominence through his Medicine Man Society, through being a war chief at the Pueblo, and all he was really doing with the Pueblo Revolt was standing up for his people and for his family. He wanted to be able to practice, to have religious freedom, to be able to keep the food that the Spanish soldiers were taking from his people to feed themselves. He just basically wanted to provide a way of life for himself and his family, which when you fast forward 100 years to the American Revolution that took place with the colonies back east, that was the same reasons, a lot of the same reasons that they decided to have the American Revolution against the British colonists that were in that area. So I think it's very appropriate that Popeye is shown pretty prominently up there on the Capitol building, because it's a lot of the same ideas that the U.S. stands for. And so it's great that it's there. It's one of the two statues that represent the state of New Mexico. Right.
Yeah, and the important thing is that people learn about this, because it's so surprising that when you have conversation with others, they didn't know that occurred, but the important thing is that we still retain our culture, we still mm-hmm. retain our traditions and the language, and although our lifestyle has changed, that whole core value of who we are still exists and still continues, and that it's so important because we feel that holy, sacred connection with our environment, with the universe, and it's not just beneficial for just one people. It's beneficial for everyone, And that's why we perform our ceremony. And although we always tell people it's not only for us, it's for everybody. It surprises people that that it's done, for that. And there's so much different misconceptions about who we are as Pueblo nations, and what we endured through the colonial system, and how it's driven us almost to extinction. And but then with leadership such as Pope, we were able to overcome that, and still we have to fight to retain what is valuable to us. And it's not just all about money and expansion and control. It's all about respect. It's all about protecting. It's about perpetuating, what's truly valuable for us and everyone on the earth, and what it's also important is to protect, our mother, the earth, and protect, the whole environment, the air we breathe, the water we drink. It's a shame that all of those values have been overcome by greed and control, and to this day, their system, their colonial system, isn't all that perfect, and it's more exploitive, it's more manipulative, and it's very harmful. The whole misconception of freedom for everyone doesn't always exist. It's only used as a way to control and to use people, and for Pueblo people, everybody contributes. Everybody is a part of the community. Everybody offers what they can offer, and if it's not those objects that they can offer, it's themselves, and helping and being a part of putting it together.
Yeah, just like when you had the stone and the reception, all your family and extended family, friends came and helped out, whether it's just to serve people or to cook something, just to welcome people. It's very much that Pueblo mentality. Just be there, be supportive of your family, be supportive, and together we can build each other up.
Yeah. And, and people learn from that. To continue, that tradition. Nowadays, and for us as well, growing up in an educational system where you have two different sets of values, it can be confusing. But if a community can teach their youth, all about the importance of who we are and our culture and why we're here, it gives the children a better understanding of their place, and it also helps when there is that conflict of which road to take and which ones would be more beneficial, not only for a personal reason but also for the community. It helps them to make better decisions, and I think that's very important, because we're also part of the progression of the human race. We do have we do have intertribal, we have interracial relationships, so we're a part of those other cultures, but those other cultures are a part of us. But the most important thing that we have to remember is that we have that culture, we have the traditions, and we have the ceremonies, and regardless of where do you come from, if you hold on to those beliefs of who we are and what our purpose is, it makes us, it makes this place a better world to live. And hopefully people would understand that, other, non-native people would understand that. And I see that, there are folks who do respect that and would understand, our purpose. But then there's so many out there who do not, and that causes a lot of chaos, and it causes a lot of insecurities, and so, but we just got to keep moving along, and hopefully people will have better understanding and acceptance.
I think that was a big reason why we brought you in during this month of August, because August 10th is the anniversary date of the Pueblo Revolt, and you had such a big part in making that beautiful, those two Popeye pieces. So I thank you for showcasing our Pueblo people, our Pueblo leaders, and just showcasing that resiliency and that resistance that us Pueblo people have. And we wouldn't be here today without Popeye and those leaders that came together, that brought the 19 Pueblos together to fight back and resist against the colonialism that was happening. And there wasn't a picture of Popeye to go off of. There wasn't a drawing or anything. So you kind of had to imagine what he might have looked like, just based on past ideas and things that he was involved in. So I think you did a great job of commemorating him and Pueblo people in general. So I'm thankful. I'm thankful that you came in today and gave us that backstory of your process and just your life in general, of how your upbringing and what kind of led you to where you're at today.
Yeah, well, thank you. I appreciate that, and I feel the honor, the love, the respect from the Pueblo people, and also their love and respect and honor for the Popeye statue. It was quite controversial when the Pueblo people weren't allowed to touch the sculpture or place offering there on the sculpture. But our representatives were notified, and they were able to help, so that people can honor. But then at the same token, there's also that the label that's placed, where they are notified that any objects will be removed, so it's not completely protecting, our values. But, we just have to adapt, and if there's any changes we make that need to be made, then we have to do that. We have to take that step to change it. And it's frustrating that we're still controlled, even though we're a sovereign nation. We're still being controlled by money. Mm-hmm. We're still being controlled by people in power, and so what whatever we have to protect is basically what's more valuable to us as Pueblo people.
Great. Thank you, Cliff. I
All right.
appreciate you coming in today. Thank you for spending some time with us.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to the Pueblo In Focus podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe.